Good evening. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Ratto reporting. Stalemate and outrage. Those are the words tonight as defiant Cuban inmates still hold more than 100 hostages at U.S. federal prisons in Atlanta and Oakdale, Louisiana. The prisoners are brandishing makeshift weapons. They remain cool to President Reagan's reversal of policy and his offer to delay deportation. Our coverage of two fiery standoffs begins with Bill Whitaker.
Fires flared at the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary again today. Cuban inmates are still in control. A day and a half after riots first erupted, there is one confirmed inmate death, 15 injuries, and some 70 prison workers still held hostage. At least 2 ill hostages were released. The round-the-clock negotiations are at a stalemate.
The negotiating team since 7:15 last night has been dealing with at least 12 leaders or groups of leaders. And with each new group is a new set of requests or demands.
The inmates want amnesty and a guarantee they will not be deported to Cuba. They've threatened to kill hostages if authorities use force. In an intercepted radio transmission, one hostage said they are all fine, but pleaded for official calm.
I think negotiation must continue to take place. We cannot have a bloodbath here.
Some 300 inmates, not part of the insurrection, were moved to a more secure section of the prison. Families of the prisoners still inside keep vigil across the street. Janet Lugo talked to her husband inside the prison by phone.
Well, he said that everybody was okay, that there are people hurt on both sides, but right now that they were just going to hold out.
Other family members called on the Justice Department today to guarantee the inmates will remain in the U.S. The official response, the violence must stop.
It can only hurt their situations to continue this.
Please, we beg you, as your families, these men that have these hostages, please let them go.
There has been no response from the inmates to Attorney General Edwin Misa's offer to suspend deportation plans. Tonight, prison officials say the next move is up to the Cubans. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Atlanta.
Bands of rebelling Cuban prisoners armed with pipes, baseball bats, knives, and machetes are patrolling the inside of the prison, tightening their hold over the facility. Negotiations have come to a standstill, and late today, guards quelled one incident by turning on the water hoses.
You have to understand these people, they're very paranoid, so are we at this point. But each of us are keeping our end of the bargain.
The leaders say the key to their survival are the 28 hostages, who they vow to keep until assurances are given that they will not be returned to Cuba. Meanwhile, Warden J.R. Johnson says another problem is that the Cubans simply do not believe promises by the Reagan administration.
They want to know when they give up those hostages that we're not going to come in and kill them and abuse them, and they're not going to 10 planes aren't going to pull up and they're going to fly them over and parachute them over Cuba. They want to be, they think that may happen, and until they're certain that it's not, they're going to hold out.
Families and supporters of the Cuban prisoners are worried about the stalemate and concerned that both sides are getting tired.
As you get tired, your nerves get frayed. And the potential for a conflict, an armed conflict, increases. And the longer this goes on, the more potential there is going to be for violence.
This afternoon, the Cubans hoisted an American flag inside their camp and painted signs on burned-out buildings saying liberty or death. On the other side of the fence, more than 1,000 heavily armed guards were ready to move in if the order is given to retake the prison. Bruce Hall, CBS News, Oakdale, Louisiana.
As much outrage as there is about what is happening now in those prisons, and there is plenty all around the country, inmate families involved and some officials insist that the rioting was all but inevitable. Peter Van Sant has their side of the story.
Since the Marielitos went from their boats to behind bars, the Atlanta Penitentiary has been a violent, overcrowded prison where hundreds of Cubans were housed and forgotten. Until yesterday, when years of frustration and anger exploded in fire and death.
Well, the condition inside is terrible. They treat them like an animal.
Being a Cuban detainee is different than being any other kind of detainee. Because the courts have ruled that they can be held there forever.
The Atlanta Penitentiary is the most violent of all federal prisons. At least 9 Cubans have been murdered here. 11 have committed suicide.
It's a very dismal, gray, cold, forbidding institution.
For the past 3 years, higher courts have overturned federal Judge Marvin Shube's rulings granting constitutional rights to the Cubans. Shube isn't surprised that once inmates learn they may be deported, they rioted.
You've got people with nothing to lose, with little confidence in the system, who've been misled and mistreated to some extent.
Inmate Gerardo Mansour, interviewed last year, said that returning to Cuba means certain death.
The United States knows that the Cuban is going to be persecuted and put in jail. Hey, it is sentencing him to death.
They will kill, they don't care. You know, they fighting their freedom. That's what they're fighting.
So the standoff continues as the government promises individual hearings, while many inmates see surrender as a ticket to execution in Cuba. Peter Van Sant, CBS News, Atlanta.
The crucial question at this hour is whether those prison uprisings can be controlled without further loss of life. To answer that question, Bruce Morton looked for lessons from the past and found the answer seems to be keep talking.
We have been here before. Looking at the smoke from today's prison fires, we can remember past uprisings and how they ended. Attica, New York, 1971. State troopers, sheriff's deputies, and prison guards attack. 43 people, prisoners and guards, are killed. The State Penitentiary in Santa Fe, New Mexico, 1980. State police and National Guardsmen attack. 33 people die. Ossining State Prison in New York, 1983. They keep talking. Negotiations work. David Levin was involved in those talks.
There should never be a need for force. A negotiated settlement should always be possible, particularly because it's the government, which is in a posture where it can wait out the inmates.
Julian Tepper was an observer at Attica, later helped resolve a dispute at the District of Columbia Jail.
Deal with them just like you deal with anybody else, even though it's not like dealing with anybody else. Treat them seriously. Try to seriously achieve those goals that they want that you can.
The United States probably can't give them everything they're asking for. The Mariel boat lift began in 1980 when Fidel Castro, responding to domestic unrest, said anybody could leave Cuba who wanted to. The United States would have to take them. 125,000 people left Mariel for Florida in little boats. Some came from prisons and mental hospitals. The United States couldn't send them back, but some of them have never spent a day here out of jail. Others committed crimes here and were jailed. But the experts we talked to, Dan, say keep talking. The prisoners are prisoners. They can't get out. The government controls supplies of food, electricity, water, things like that. So there will be things to negotiate about. And the prisoners know that a resort to force, these experts say, would be bad for both sides.
Any other tips, Bruce?
Well, the people I talked to say there ought to be impartial outside observers there to make sure the prisoner's case is heard, to make sure that once the authorities go back in, there aren't any reprisals. But mostly what they say, Dan, is just keep at it, keep talking.
Bruce Morton, thank you. And still to come on the CBS Evening News, an arms deal in Geneva, President Reagan tours a Star Wars plant, the FCC okays dirty movies after midnight, and in the shadows in the heartland, not so much to be thankful for in this season of Thanksgiving.
If you thought you had to give up comfort to get a close shave, Norelco says, think again. Their revolutionary shaving system shaves skin closed in a way that's incredibly comfortable. As the hair enters the chamber, the patented lift and cut system lifts each hair and holds it a split second before a blade cuts it. So it's possible to shave skin closed without the blades even touching the skin. Norelco Rotitract, where close and comfortable come face to face. This Stetson pre-shave can be yours free with selected Norelco razors. This Pontiac Trans Am could be yours, with a little luck. Enter Norelco's Quest for the Gold sweepstakes. Look for this ad in newspapers on Sunday, November 29th.
Pasta salad. Well, nothing new about that, till you add my favorite pitted prunes, Sunsweet. Their rounder, plumper shape makes them a great complement to any salad. And the Sunsweet taste? That's the best compliment of all.
Because Citicorp understands the drive to succeed, to do more than just get by, we've become the nation's largest financial services company, already helping 1 in every 5 American families, with more student loans, more home mortgages, more MasterCard and Visa cards than any other company. Citicorp and Citibank, we'd like you to get to know us better. Citicorp, Because Americans want to succeed, not just survive.
In Geneva, Secretary of State Schultz today sealed his deal, the arms deal with the Soviets, to be signed in Washington in 2 weeks at the Reagan-Gorbachev summit. For his part, President Reagan today was out stumping, insisting that he had not sold out Star Wars, his missile defense idea. He said, despite some reports to the contrary, that he won't give in to Gorbachev and come anywhere near killing it. Our chief European correspondent, Tom Fenton, begins our coverage of the deal that's done and the hard bargaining over it still to come.
Minister Shevardnadze and I are shaking hands. And the reason is that we've now completed agreement on all of the outstanding INF issues.
INF, shorthand for the treaty to eliminate all medium-range nuclear missiles in the superpower arsenals. This was a moment for congratulations all around. Even Marshal Akrameyev, the Soviet Chief of Staff, was smiling.
Most peaceful Chief of General Staff in the world.
More than 1,000 nuclear missiles deployed throughout Western and Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union will be destroyed over a 3-year period. 1,500 warheads on the Soviet side, 350 on the NATO side, plus several hundred missiles not yet deployed. An entire class of weapons will be eliminated forever. The heart of the treaty and the issues that prevented agreement until the last minute were the procedures to prevent cheating.
And we see this treaty accompanied by a system of verification, which of course can't be 100%, but which I think gives us a very comfortable feeling.
The measures agreed on include exchange of data on location and numbers of missiles, on-site observation of destruction of missiles and launchers, the right to inspect the sites for 10 years after the missiles are destroyed, and stationing of inspectors at plants where missiles were produced. Schultz defended the treaty against critics.
And the critics have to stand up and say why they think we should have more nuclear weapons, as distinct from less.
Whether this becomes a binding treaty or whether it will join SALT II and the test ban treaty that were signed but never ratified will depend on what the Senate thinks of these verification procedures. In the end, it's the fine print that will make or break this historic agreement. Tom Fenton, CBS News, Geneva.
Arriving in Denver, President Reagan applauded the news from Geneva and said he is confident about winning ratification of the medium-range missile pact.
Can you sell it to the Senate?
I'll bet we can. But Senate critics question whether the administration is too eager for a deal, and even supporters acknowledge it will be a tough fight.
Unfortunately, we cannot assume that the Senate will approve ratification of the treaty.
But if you're too anxious to get an agreement, you may shave the margins of decision that will indeed impair security rather than enhance security.
Administration officials counter that U.S. security will be protected by tough new verification procedures.
I mean, for the first time in history, we will have people on site in the Soviet Union looking at missiles as they come out of the final assembly facility, and that's, for those of us who've been around for a while, that's pretty mind-boggling.
Are you at all nervous about letting the Soviets onto a U.S. Western facility? Allied facility?
No, I think that all of that will be worked out. We'll be as careful as they are.
The president came to Colorado today for a top-secret tour of Martin Marietta's Star Wars plant, followed by very public assurances that he won't abandon the program in a rush to accommodate Gorbachev.
You're not working to build a bargaining chip. It will not be traded away.
The president said that Soviet advances in their own Star Wars program confront the U.S. with a decision.
The question is not, will strategic defenses be developed? The question is rather, will the Soviet Union be the only country to possess them? The choice is ours.
Administration officials insist that Mr. Reagan means it when he says he won't negotiate over Star Wars. Some doubt that resolve, but if it's true, the diplomatic battle over strategic defense is going to make the INF negotiations seem easy by comparison. Terrence Smith, CBS News, with the president in Colorado.
The stars are gonna twinkle and shine, how they'll shine this evening about 8:45. I know I won't be late. now that 8:30. I'm gonna hurry there. I'll be waiting where
They say time is what you make it. At Citizen, we prefer making it beautiful.
about 8:45.
Citizen.
There are over 500,000 doctors in America, and they catch colds just like you. So, which cold medicine would doctors take for their own achy colds, with congestion and sneezing? In a nationwide survey for their own achy colds, more doctors said they take the formula Indristan than the formulas in Sudafed, Actifed, and Dimetapp combined.
I'm going to take what doctors would take. Wouldn't you?
Dristan, with the formula more doctors would take, tablets or caplets.
Heartburn again?
Yeah.
Take some Riapan Plus 2. It's double strength.
I hope it works fast.
In lab tests, it starts neutralizing acid in 10 seconds.
You look better.
You want to go out for a banana split?
I'm kidding.
Riapan Plus 2, the fast antacid.
Wow, that's some mouthwash. Tastes icy clean.
It's new. Peppermint.
It's blue. Why?
I don't know.
Powerful.
It certainly is.
Now the power of Scope comes in peppermint, too.
Another big earthquake rattled Southern California today. This one was centered just north of the Mexican border, and one witness called it a whopper. It measured 6.3 on the Richter scale, more powerful than the earthquake that killed 7 people in the Los Angeles area last month. David Dow has our report.
The second major quake in 12 hours awakened California's Imperial Valley from a jittery sleep.
Oh, it was a bad one. You could hear everything shaking.
It was terrible. Okay. Everybody's scared here.
This time, the damage was widely scattered on both sides of the U.S.-Mexican border. In Mexicali, Mexico, the quake hit homes and businesses and forced patients from 2 hospitals that suffered structural damage. The hardest hit American cities were Calexico and El Centro, where brick tumbled, windows crashed, and merchandise showered the floors of grocery stores. Several secondary roads were closed as the earth literally opened up. Some of the heaviest damage was inflicted on the U.S. border station at Calexico, temporarily closing the offices of American Customs and immigration officials.
Well, we're in the street. We're virtually operating outside.
Given the quake's magnitude, residents are grateful the human suffering wasn't worse. Still, it was an economic blow to an area that just suffered another one, the devaluation of the Mexican peso. David Dow, CBS News, Calexico, California.
A Chicago jury today convicted 5 members of the notorious El Rucan street gang of conspiring to commit terrorist acts in this country for $2.5 million from Libya. Prosecutors charged El Rucan leader Jeff Fort masterminded the scheme through scores of telephone calls from inside a Texas prison where he was serving time on narcotics charges. The defendants claimed they belonged to a religious organization which sought Libyan money only to build a mosque. The deregulation-minded Federal Communications Commission today loosened further its guidelines against what some people call indecent and obscene programming on the nation's airwaves. CBS News law correspondent Rita Braver reports how this may affect what you see and hear.
Martin Luther King said.
When may raunch radio and adult TV programming hit the airwaves? The Federal Communications Commission today anointed midnight to 6 a.m. as the off-color hours.
Where was the riskiest place you ever whopped it to him, huh?
Last April, the commission jolted the broadcast industry by decreeing that indecent material could be banned even if no dirty words were used. The programming need only depict or describe in patently offensive terms certain sexual or excretory functions and be broadcast at times when children might be listening. But the broadcasters demanded more specific guidance, asking for a 10 p.m. start time. Today, the commission came back with the midnight compromise.
But this will permit us now, I think, to have a definite standard that we can go ahead and enforce the indecency regulation.
And in a symbolic victory for civil libertarians, the commission added, although provocative programming will inevitably offend some listeners and viewers, no subject is per se beyond the realm of acceptable broadcast discussion. Still, some broadcasters abhor any editorial restrictions.
Broadcasters are bright. They can make their own decisions. They can regulate themselves, and people can turn the radio on or off.
But media watchers are calling the ruling a national disgrace.
So what they've done is they've said they will put the pig in the parlor of American homes beginning at midnight So you better be prepared for it.
But officials here insist they're fulfilling their duty to restrict indecent broadcasts in a manner consistent with the First Amendment. Rita Braver, CBS News at the FCC.
There were mixed signals about the economy in government reports out today. The Commerce Department said the balance of payments trade deficit hit a record $39.8 billion between July and September. But the government also said the economy grew at a robust 4.1% annual rate in the third quarter, higher than originally estimated. And a third report showed corporate after-tax profits jumped way up 5.2% in the third quarter, the best showing in a year. All of that was enough to send stock prices up today.
Did you know the last time you starved yourself to lose fat, you might have lost muscle? Why? You didn't eat enough protein. Protein helps you keep the muscle while you lose fat. And that's what's special about Kellogg's Special K. It has the highest level of dietary protein of any cereal. So the under 200-calorie Special K breakfast may help you get the fat off and keep the muscle on. Special K. Keep the muscle, lose the fat.
Before I fell off my 10-speed and ended up in the hospital, I never gave much thought to pain relievers. The hospital gave me Tylenol. It stopped the pain without irritating my stomach, like aspirin can, and it really made me think. Ever since that day, I've been a lot more careful about medicine. What do I trust now? Just one thing, Tylenol.
Trust Tylenol, the pain reliever hospitals use most.
In engineering the Cutlass Sierra Coupe, style is as important in our thinking as aerodynamics or suspension geometry.
The car's a beauty, and from an engineering standpoint, this sort of timeless styling, this endurance is reflected in every component.
It's engineered to last.
And look great doing it.
And the engineers at Oldsmobile. Oldsmobile quality in the beautiful Cutlass Sierra Coupe.
Thinking of others at Thanksgiving. It's an American tradition as old as the holiday itself. But this year, there is something different about some of the people seeking places at the table. CBS News national correspondent Bernard Goldberg reports.
We've seen their faces before. We've heard their stories. They're down-and-outers who live in the shadows, in a world of their own on the streets of our big cities. But out in the heartland, there are others whose faces we seldom see and whose stories we seldom hear. This is Iowa.
You want a home? You want to be financial set? You want to be able to give your family things? Right now, I can't give my wife nothing. Only the love and care I've got. That's all.
When you think of the homeless, you don't think of people like Roger Lampley. A month ago, he had a full-time job, a steady income. He was a mechanic. Then he got laid off. So this Thanksgiving, Roger Lampley and his wife and their baby are living on charity in a home for the needy in Des Moines.
I don't think you want me to say right on camera what I really feel like. It's very degrading to a man to get put in this situation because you feel like when you've got to put your wife and child through something like this, you don't feel too good about yourself.
It's horrifying. You know, we don't live normal lives. We don't have homes to go to.
When you think of street people, you don't think of kids. A group therapy session in Des Moines for runaways and what they call throwaways, kids who were thrown out by their parents.
Last year, right before the holidays started, is when that's when everything started. And I didn't want to wake up on Christmas. I had nothing to be thankful for on Thanksgiving. 5 days after Christmas is my birthday. I didn't want to be bored.
This is home for me right here, and about 4 other kids stay here every once in a while with me.
Come on, you live in this place?
Yes.
You sleep here?
Yes.
What is this?
This is where I sleep. Blankets, there's a pillow there, there's a cushion. There's a fireplace where, as you can see, there is ashes, there is wood that's been burnt.
You do that to keep warm?
Yes.
Mike is 17. He says his father, who was not married to his mother, walked out when he was born. He can't live at home, he says, so he found this dilapidated, abandoned house to sleep in. What kind of life is this for a 17-year-old boy?
Surviving. Watch out for the nails there.
What does this place mean to you? What is this place as far as you're concerned?
I refer to it as my house. When people say, where do you sleep? I say my house.
This is it?
Yeah, I consider this as mine.
There are two Americas out there, the one most of us live in, and the other America. We live side by side, a million miles apart. Bernard Goldberg, CBS News, Des Moines.
And that's tonight's CBS Evening News. Dan Rather. See you tomorrow. Good night.
Slow down. That's crispy wheats and raisins. Slow down. That crisp ain't going nowhere.
Why rush through these honey-touched flakes?
The taste ain't gonna drown.
Cause no Raisin Flake cereal stays crisper in milk.
That's crispy wheats and raisins. Slow down.
If you're concerned about heart disease and your doctor advises exercise, the right foods, and an aspirin a day, you should know that heart specialists recommend Ecotrin more than Bayer when they're concerned about aspirin irritation because it's safety coated. Ecotrin, the one heart specialists recommend.
The children were nestled all snug in their beds while visions of 800 numbers danced in their heads. Mom, Dad, and even Aunt Sue had toll-free numbers in their heads too. Just weeks before Christmas, they made all their calls. They didn't even have to go to the malls. And when Christmas came, everyone could see all the 800 numbers were now gifts under the tree. There was even a book of 800 numbers at sight. Happy AT&T 800 shopping to all, and to all a good night.
Finally, there's an extra-strength antacid that doesn't taste chalky. Introducing extra-strength Maalox Whip. Extra-strength relief and smooth, creamy taste. New extra-strength Maalox Whip. Extra-strength whipped in, chalky taste wiped out.
This is CBS.